Thank you for joining us today. We are thrilled to bring you Rupiyanama, an online series in tandem with Sarmaya's most ambitious exhibition yet, Odyssey of the Rupee, from India to the world, curated by Dr. Shailendra Bhandare. This show is a journey across centuries from ancient punchmark coins to the very first coin minted in independent India. However, the exhibition also traces the very journey of the rupee traversing the borders of different countries and regions. Through this series, we wanted to basically invite leading scholars and practitioners to share their insights and dive deeper into the many facets of the rupee and its journey. Now, a little bit about Sarmaya Arts Foundation. Sarmaya Arts Foundation is a not for profit organization with a curated repository of art, artifacts, and living traditions from the Indian subcontinent. It was founded in 2015 by Paul Abraham, a Mumbai based banker, history enthusiast, and arts patron. Sarmaya uses its collection as the starting point to create online and on ground programming that sparks curiosity, invites dialogue, and fosters a deeper engagement with India's heritage. Our collection of rare historical artifacts and Indian art is housed at this archive and made accessible to diverse communities through talks, exhibitions, workshops, and other programs. Through our website, sarmaya.in, and social media, particularly Instagram and YouTube, we share articles, videos, and learning resources for students and bring stories from the archive to life in creative and accessible ways. Now, before we move on, just some housekeeping notes. Since Pascal also wanted, audience to be in like interactive, we'll still just keep our videos and audios disabled or muted. The chat section will be on for you all, so whatever questions you have, you can drop them, and these will be addressed by the speaker by at the end. When we reach to the Q&A segment. Before that, Pascal will also ask questions, so feel free to kind of answer or raise your hand on the Zoom thing. Okay, and coming to our guest tonight, we have a very special talk lined up and very special guest as well. So Pascal R Lopes is a Vasai-based historian and coin researcher. He has completed a master's in numismatics and archaeology from the university. He was selected for the India government Mint Numismatic Meet 2022 Mumbai and presented his coin design suggestions. He authored a heritage government published book called A Walk Through Vasai Sopara Virar. He has an extensive award-winning collection of 3,000 coins, invited by the governor and interviewed on a television and radio. He's a computer engineer and works as an executive director at JP Morgan Chase's technology division. So yeah, over to you, Pascal. Thank you.
Welcome all of you out here. I know there are people who are interested in coins and numismatics. There are people from the colleges, students from colleges who have joined this session. So I welcome you all. With Sarmaya, my connection with Sarmaya's hosting this talk goes beyond for quite some years now, right? With Paul Abraham, who is one of the founders of Sarmaya, has been visiting some of the exhibitions that I have been doing at World Trade Center, and that's how I got introduced to Sarmaya. So thanks for hosting me here today. What we are going to talk is to the theme that Sarmaya has started, which is the journey of rupee. There is a wonderful exhibition that is getting hosted on their site as well. So one should always go and visit that. It continues for about a month more. As part of this Zoom series, I think Dr. Shailendra Bhandare took the first one, a very renowned person who is talking about it. Then we had Mohit, and this is my session. So I really thank for giving me this opportunity. With that, I'm going to start my screen share, right, and we'll talk of the head of state for the iconic portrait on the coins. I hope you're able to see my screen, right? So this poster as well that went out with, which is showing two really unique portraits. One is the Queen and the head of state, the first Prime Minister of India, Nehru, on the coin, and really trying to bring that alive today as part of this conversation. Uh, so uh, something that we would cover, right? Would really cover various rupee coins, the portraits onto it, something from a colonial rule that comes in, some other designs, the various designers who have designed them, post-independence, how things have gone through. So really exploring the story of rupee or the journey of rupee, that is the theme of Sarmaya, through the portraits that have come onto these coins. But let's start with the basic understanding of coins, because I know everyone may not be a researcher or someone who understands coins completely. So just to level set everyone to one level over here, what exactly would you call a coin? We are going to talk of the rupee coins over here, but what exactly is a coin? So any piece of metal, they say, which has a prescribed weight. A rupee typically is 11.6 grams when it has started. Any design and legends, if you see, these are the legends that go over here. Minted on the direction of an authority is very important, right? Because you could also find uh, minted things which are medals, but they are not coins, right? So it is always minted on the direction of an authority. Otherwise, you could get fake into your action as well. And it is used as a medium of exchange, right? So that is also very important, that that piece of metal is used as a medium of exchange, to call it as a coin. And whenever we refer to a coin, we have obverse and a reverse of it, right? So the front side, or as we call the heads and the tails, typically that comes in from the head of the king that typically had, or we had on a coin. So like, that's the relief, that's the field, these are the legends. You have a date, you have the country coming over here, you have the denomination that has been mentioned, the rim of it, and the edge of it, right? So that's how generally you would read a coin. Typically, you will always have a mint mark over here, the dot that has been shown, which stands for Mumbai, and the obverse side or the front side is how we refer it, and the reverse side, right? So that's typically how you really explore or look at coin. Not going to get too much into invention of rupee, because you have heard talks before this, which is talking of invention of rupee, but typically, like, it comes from the Sanskrit word for silver, where, like, it was called Rupayam for silver. And then, like, Sher Shah Suri comes in, really defines it at a specific weight, which is like, 11.6 grams is what he had defined in the 16th century. The coin looked something like this, and there's no portrait on it, but it looks something like this. The system which further continued, and that's how, like, the modern rupee is formed today. The Indian rupee typically has that symbol. Was officially adopted in 2010, and I'm sure all of you have been aware of that news when the symbol was designed by Uday Kumar. It was like, an open competition that was announced, and that symbol to the rupee that we see today has also come in. Uh, so starting with, like, the core of this talk today and the session is the various portraits that we have seen on the Indian rupee, and that's the first standardized rupee that came in India. So, like, we had we are in the East India Company times, right? Right from the 16th, 17th, coming till the 18th century. And you had various rupees that were circulating in the Bengal presidency, the Madras presidency, the Mumbai presidency, even all being East India Company presidency. The rupee that was used, or the coins that were used, were quite different in each of these presidencies. So they decided to make a standard to it, right? So there is one common standard with which a rupee should be circulating all over India. And that first rupee that came in is in 1835, which is called as the Uniform Coinage of India. On that, you had the portrait of King William IV, uh, and this is how the first rupee and the first portrait came in. If you look at it, it's very important that how these portraits are coming on the rupee coin. Right? So if you see, King William is heading right, like, he's seeing to the right, and in these portraits, as you would see, keep observing when the different head of states or kings and queens come in, they will start looking left and right, like, alternately. That is how they have been brought in as well. Uh, One important thing about these portraits is always this neck of the king or the queen, and you really find certain thing embossed onto the neck of this one, and I will zoom it on the next coin out there. But like, on this coin, you typically find F, which is infused or put up on the neck of the king. If you could see you could vaguely see the F that is coming over here. That is like, mint master, the person who is responsible for minting the coin. He puts his initials out there, and that was Major Forbes of East India Company, who was like, controlling or managing the mint at that time at Calcutta, right? So understand there are mints in Calcutta, Madras, and Mumbai. Today it's also in Noida, and like, we are getting coins even from outside at times. But these are typically mint masters at Calcutta. Had this been Madras coin, you would have RS instead of an F over here. We're going to get into the details of each of these portraits as we move on this coin, but understand that King William IV, the coin comes in June 1835, right? And then he passes away in next 2 years. Uh, they didn't introduce Victoria's coin immediately, who is like, the next queen that comes in. Uh, and it continued with a frozen date uh, till 1840 when the queen's coins get introduced. The next one that I really want to bring on the coin section is when King William goes away, Queen Victoria comes in, right? 1837 is the date when her rule starts, but her coin starts from 1840 because that was a conscious decision taken to continue the coinage of William till 1840. Now, these portraits that are getting designed, right, or engraved, uh, one engraver for this was from Birmingham, which is UK, and the other one was from Calcutta. His name is Kashinath Das, right? So these people engrave these portraits so that when the minting happens, they come up onto the coin. And uh, initially, when these two portraits were done, it was really remarked as inferior dies because they felt that, like, it was not representing the queen quite appropriately. And as I said, there are two people who have drawn the portrait. And what would happen typically, like, if two people really draw the same portrait, or if you ask people to draw the same picture twice, what are the kind of things that would happen when those coins get minted? So there is one person from India, that is Kashinath Das, who engraves it. There is one person from England who does it. Uh, and what has happened is typically these three features were different. And that's why they're saying, like, they are not done well, and so are they of inferior quality. The shape of the nose, like, so we are really talking of portraits over here. So shape of the nose is something that was been talked of in India. Indian head, which is made by Kashinath Das, they said it is very delicate and sharp, while the one that was made by the English engraver was fatter, rounder. The neck length, this is the neck length, right? Very minute details coming to is slim and long, the one that has been done by the India engraver. And for the one, it is thin and stout. So, like, it is thinner and a little stout. Hairstyle, the way these hairs are flowing, the way these knots have been tied, how they have been tied. And finally, the ribbon. You see this ribbon? There is a diagonal line. And in the English engraving, there is no line that has been defined. There was also a Bombay mint master who really produced some drawings, but those were not accepted at all. So let's look at, like, the two heads. One is the English head and one is an Indian head. Uh, if you very closely observe this, you may not, like, really be able to differentiate. But here is one thing that all of you, I think, who are on this session today would be able to see and recognize, right? So I've talked of four things. Maybe you're not able to differentiate whether the nose is rounder, slimmer, because you really have to put it under a magnifying glass to define that. But one thing that is very clear and can be identified by anyone is the ribbon. Like, this is the ribbon. There are two ribbons, but this ribbon you have to observe, and observe this ribbon. Yeah. Can you see this diagonal line over here? So in an English head, there is no defined line. Yeah. If you see this, this is absolutely plain. In an Indian head, he has put a diagonal line on a ribbon. That's the way you differentiate, and that's where these portraits matter, right? And one thing that I would like to tell you is that uh, coin collection, which I also promote always, is a great hobby and a great collection to have. You can always visit, exhibitions happening where there are people who also sell some of these coins. If at all you visit something at World Trade Center, typically in September, there is an exhibition that happens. If you go for a coin, go and check these things. At least you'll be able to see them in your hand and you'll be able to differentiate the portraits just to understand that, yeah, one is an English head, there is no line in the ribbon, and one is a Indian head with a line within the ribbon. So, considering they said that these are inferior quality dies, they really asked the government, which was like, the British government at that time, to really change these dies. And one thing that the government came back, and these are written letters that have been exchanged between the government and the mint, which is the Indian mint masters over here. And one thing that they said is that uh, coin worth British India. So the Indian coins, when British ruled it, are referred to as British India coins. So they are saying coin worthy of British India and perfection of execution is the surest guard against introduction of fakes. Right? So how do you really identify fakes? If I go back to these coins, many times, people identify fakes by knowing that, something changes in the coin design. And in these, like, the same coin was getting circulated. One is having a line, one is not having a line. One has a nose which is rounder, circular, closer to the rim. And that's what people were not able to, like, sometimes identify if a fake coin was getting introduced because they just felt that, oh, this is a variation of a coin. And that's where the government agreed that they really need to change the design to make it very structured and organized and perfect. And that's where this coin is been brought in. This coin is designed by, like, he's called the luminary of numismatics, which is William Wyan. He's a British guy, and he has got a profound influence. The reason I'm saying he has got a profound influence is because when he's making a die sitting in the London Mint, right? That die comes to India, but British or the Queen is ruling across the world, right? So there is rule in Australia, there is rule in Canada, there is rule in Strait Settlements, there is rule in Hong Kong, and every coin has a Queen portrait coming onto it. And William Vaughan has really influenced all those portraits since he's been known as the luminary of the coins. One of the difference that you'd see in the coin that he has done is one, the perfection of the portrait. Two, if you see Queen Victoria, that was written out here, Victoria Queen, it is very continuous, right? On the top, if you see this one, it is called the divided legend, where Victoria is written on one side and the Queen goes on to the other side. We talked of the neckline. So William Wyan dies are coming from London to India in Indian mints to the Madras mint, to the Calcutta mint, right, and to the Mumbai mint as well. And then there are specific mint masters. So in Madras there is Major Bell and Major Orr, and they have their initials engraved again on the neckline. So let's see how that would look. Are you able to see this WW over here? Let me zoom it for you. Can you see this over here? That is standing for William Vaughan, which I am calling as the luminary of the numismatic world, right? A person who has really influenced a lot of coinage across the world. So this is one way to, like, identify, appreciate, and collect coins as well, where you have the same coin, same portrait, but one coin you would have WW on the neck, other coin you would have WWB, which is like, Major Bell. Third coin, you would have WWO, which is Major Or. And that's how, like, your collection goes into, or the coin has those specifics. And understanding these details, so there are a lot of people who will be collecting coins, but understanding these details makes you a numismatics or a person who collects coins or studies coins based on these details. And that's where you are called as a numismatist or a person who can research and collect coins. 1857, a very defining moment in the Indian history, right? So the revolt that happens makes the rupee more Indian because the British governments now decide decides that, like, the rupee that is getting minted will now be under the control of the government of Britain or UK, right? So the whole country moves from East India Company to the rule of the Raj, which is the British government. Uh, and one key change that you would observe on the rupee is, up to now that we talked of William and Queen Victoria. The rupee had East India Company, right? This is an 1840 rupee. You had 1 rupee written on it, right? Which is the key theme of our presentation that is going on. This is where it moves post 1857, so coins starting from 1862. One key thing that you would see is East India Company goes and India gets recognition as a country on the coin, right? So there is a key difference that comes in on these coins. Uh, and what happens really from there is the queen, which was bareheaded, right? That queen suddenly gets a crown, uh, because what happens is that Queen Victoria is now the official ruler or the governing body of the country, as compared to earlier when it was East India Company. It was very important that how these portraits start coming in, right? And what they really wanted to do is the portrait should come in a way which really shows, one, the authority and power of the queen. And that's how the various details that are there on this coin come in. If you see there is a crown, look at the robe that she is wearing, look at the necklaces that she is wearing, as compared to the one earlier, which has no crown at all, a very young head, no robes. The portrait gets cut at the neckline, and then look at the change that has been brought in where it moves from East India Company, where Victoria becomes the queen of India and directly the ruling person who is governing the overall thing, as compared to governing it through East India Company. So this portrait uh, is something that really, like, changes the dimension of a rupee, where the portrait is shown with a queen, and further the queen being shown as an empress. So there is an official act that's been passed in 1876, where she is called the Empress of India. So these coins have Victoria Queen earlier from 1876 onwards, so they changed to Victoria Empress. So look at how the portrait and the definition of it is changing. And as I said, the William Warren, who was designing this portrait, was also defining it for the world. And I just want to bring over here, how was world looking at Victoria at this time? So if you see the right portrait over here, right, that is something that is how Victoria is represented in UK or Britain or to the world. And this is how she's been represented in India. So I'd just like to quiz a bit over here to the audience, specifically the students that are out here. Tell me, like, some differences that you're visually seeing on the two portraits. One, this one, which is on a 1 rupee coin in India, and this one, which is on a florin coin, which is, like, the basic unit in UK at that time. Tell me any difference that you can think of, and no answers are wrong answer over here, right? So I just want uh, someone to just unmute yourself and you can go for it. Otherwise, you know how I'm going to operate it. I'm just going to pick up a name to help me answer that question.
Uh, Hello, am I
Yes,
audible?
yes.
Sir, the second one, which all over world,
Uh-huh.
that coin, in that coin, queen has no, necklace something.
Perfect. Yeah, she's not having a necklace as compared to, like, me. They have one,
Yes,
two, and three. Good.
and also, like, uh, through the neck, she looks like tall somehow. I mean,
She looks tall. Okay, that's a interesting observation.
yes.
And since you have made that point, just see she's looking so tall that this crown is almost breaking the rim of the coin over here, right? That is in UK or out to the world. If
Yes.
you saw here, it is very much within the circumference of the coin. So yeah, that's a very interesting observation. She is like, shown tall over here. What else? Maybe someone else. Jitendra Patil, go for it.
Yeah. Hi. Good evening,
Good
everybody.
evening.
I'm audible?
Yes.
Yeah. I am a coin collector, of course. The
Good.
thing which I have noticed in this coin, and specifically this coin, I'm observing for the first time the difference between the coin for India and coin for the world of Victoria.
I'm glad.
I have been
Something you will take
collecting.
back from this session, Jitendra.
Yes,
Thanks.
of
Yeah.
course. Because I've been collecting coins, and I have some UK coins as well.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between these coins, India coins minted in India and coins minted for UK or for the world for 18th century or say 19th century, the coins, the die which they have made for this coin was very the coins are very specific, or the images on that are very clear. That is what I have observed. Not only this, see the writing or the image on the coin is
Mm-hmm.
very what I am getting the word, that is very clear and
Got it.
specific. Every
It's
smallest object,
details you could
without
see.
even lens, we can make it out.
Got it.
This is
Thanks.
still, even now, the coins minted in UK for the UK country, that is, those are very, very beautiful, like,
Got
and
it. Thanks,
minted in
Jitendra.
India are not that at the with the mark with those coins.
Sure, Jitendra. Anyone else, maybe the last
Yeah,
one, who
thank
can
you.
point any other difference here? All right. So let's look at, like, what all things differ here. First is the portrait, the name. Uh, it is called the crown head, while this is called the Gothic head, right? This one. And that's part of the Gothic revival that has happened in the UK world. The crown, this is called the Imperial circlet crown that has been shown over here, while this is called St. Edward's crown that is being shown on the world. The crown profile, right? It is very compact. You could see, like, the design that goes on here. Those are actually representing the jewels that the queen is wearing are a bit uh, different. The number of pearls that are there on these is something that is very much interested by the numismatic world. Those count changes or differs the hairstyle. Uh, right, just look at the hairstyle over here. If you could see, there is a crown that has been fitted over here. Out here, all the hairs have been shown fitted well within the crown. Right, out here, you see there is a knot that has been tied below the crown. So those are, like, these minute details that are coming in the robe that Queen Victoria is wearing. If you see, they have the symbols of a rose, thistle, and shamrock rock. Those are, like, the flowers representing England, Ireland, the various kingdoms that they have. So they are all getting those kingdoms are getting represented over here. While here, typically on the design that you saw on the front panel and on the back panel as well, there are more Indianized flowers or lotuses that are getting represented. And someone really pointed out, like, the way the writing is. So it is very clear Roman block letters, Victoria, while this one is a Gothic or an old English script in which it has been written, right? One point that you can notice and you can take back from this session, whether you're a coin collector or not a coin collector, the way Victoria is represented, like, wearing this Empress's crown. These, can you see this line over here? One, two, three. Uh, these also differ when, like, for various years or various mints that they're minting it, right? So it is called a four and a half panel, three and a half panel. Uh, so there are, like, three types into this gown, and they're generally defined by, like, these lines, which make it one, two, three and a half, or four. At times, for experimental coins, it also has five panels onto it. The roses that have been pointed are these one that you could see, while here it is more of this design that has been uh, put up, right? And one thing that I want to highlight over what I said is these representation. where it is like, oak and laurel that has been shown, while on an Indian version of it, you typically see this as the lotus that has been brought in. So like, that's how the differentiation also further starts coming in. Uh, from there, let's understand that, like, while British India is like, this territory which is majorly been ruled by British at that time, we also had Goa, Diu, and Daman, where there were Portuguese who were ruling in, and earlier it was East India Company. Uh, but when the government comes in, like, in 1857, when the government takes over, uh, suddenly, like, it's a bilateral talk between two governments that starts, and the Portugal government and the English government or the British government really decide that they need to have better relations for trade between them. uh, so if you see, this is the British rupee that comes in, but the rupee that is getting circulated in Goa, Diu, and Daman, uh, when it has been written as India Portuguesa, and Uma is one, right? 1 rupee in Portugal. And we are talking of how the rupee is shaping up. So I'm just trying to bring to your attention that how it is shaping up between the two adjacent lands that are sitting out over here. One thing that has happened is, as I said, like, there are those bilateral talks between two governments. In 1878, there is an Anglo. Anglo is always referred to as English or British. So wherever you see the word Anglo, it means you're referring to British or the English government. There is an Anglo-Portuguese treaty where they decide that these coins now getting minted in the Indian mints, either like, Mumbai mint or Calcutta mint, as compared to Goa mint. So Goa also had a mint at a time, but they closed it, and they decided that, the minting of these coins happens over here. Hence, what you really observe, certain things between the British rupee in India and the Portuguese rupee in India are common. For example, the denomination, which is Uma rupee, is written on one side, right? And typically the portrait would be on the other side. And this is like, two very specific points. One is of Louis and Carlos. These were the two kings of Portugal. And typically the portrait coins have come in from 1881 onwards. And then, like, it has gone to the Liberty portrait, which is not a human, but more of a representation. We talked of William Vaughan, we talked of Kashinath Das, right, who are like, the engravers on the British side or in the Indian mints. Uh, Even in Portugal coins, you would see the name El Elvis, which is typically shown as V Elvis on these coins. So uh, if you see this coin now, one is you could really read this, right? Though it is a Portugal, it is an English script, but written in Portuguese. He is known as Luis, so you see this L, U, and S is how he's been referred. He's been referred to as Carlos. One, typically you would see the kings are uncrowned over here, right, as compared to Victoria, who was crowned. And if you see this one over here, is where, like, on the British mints you saw it was on the neck, but here it is written as V. Alvarez. Like, so a very interesting way to collect a coin or have a coin in your possession when you can really read it, and now the coin is talking to you, right? The coin is telling you who has really minted that coin. So you could see those dates. One is from 1881, one is coming from 1904. That's like, how the two adjacent rupees are shaping up. Post Victoria, when Victoria passed away, King Edward VII takes over. Observe the way these kings are looking at. I'm just going to rewind it a bit. That is this is William looking right, Victoria looking left. Victoria continues to look left. Yeah, she continues to look left. I am skipping the Portuguese coin. Edward looks right, right? So always observe this British, even today, like, so Elizabeth is ruling today. And then William has her prince has come in, right? So even they will look, one will look left, the other one will look right. So he's looking right. Edward VII. One thing that I always, I have been collecting coins for quite some time now, purchasing these British, Portuguese, and, like, even the other coins that I have in my collection specifically related to the Vasai Sopara. That's one of my really good interests. But one thing I really observe about this point is that crown that somehow sticks into my mind, that why exactly they would have put King Edward without a crown over here, right? And one of the reasonings that we read or we see is that this was finalized before his coronation, the design. So till the time he is coronated, you cannot have a crown on top of him. The crown has been shown on the other side of the coin. If you flip the coin, there is a crown that has been shown. Uh, but one thing that when I read a little bit more about it, I find that poverty and economic drain in India was really increasing in these times. I'm talking of 1901 to 3 till 1910. There were a lot of home charges that had to be paid from the Indian kitty to the British economy then, and there were a lot of famines that had increased. So the economy was in a bit of a drain, and I feel there was not much attention given to this rupee coin beyond it. And the reason I feel that is while he is uncrowned over here, there was trade that was happening in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is another business hub that is really growing up. And I'm talking of straits over here, Strait Settlement. Strait Settlement is a dead country, but today's Singapore, Malaysia, and Malaya, that entire thing when combined is called a Strait uh, Settlement. And there was an interesting coin that we had in Strait Settlement of Edward. And these coins, both in India, Hong Kong, and Strait Settlement, are designed by George William de Selous, right? So one person designing them, but the way he designs them are completely different. And this is how the coin in Hong Kong or Strait Settlement was looking, where he is crowned now, right? Really making him feel like a king and an emperor. Understand this word emperor is very important over here because Edward King is the king of England or UK. The word emperor comes in because he is declared as the emperor of India, right? So that's where the emperor word comes in. And when, after 1947, they have dropped that word emperor from, from the writings for the king. But yeah, one thing that I really want to highlight is here the king is being shown crowned. There are some lower denominations in India, one anna, where the emperor or Edward is shown crowned. But I felt there was a very stark difference. Also, other things in the portrait, the beard, the mustache, really making him portray as a king or an emperor are very stark and very heavily featured as compared to when I look at these points. While the beard and the mustache is still there, but yeah, the crown really is putting the difference. I see the other coins that were getting minted at the same time. So 1908, Edward is still rolling, right? And just to ensure that the trade uh, goes well, they had this coin as well, which is called a trade dollar, and that was used for any trading that happens till Far East. And there, this coin was been brought in. The difference, major difference with this coin is this coin, the value of this coin is dependent on the value of silver. So if silver prices go up and down, the buying capacity of this coin changes as compared to this one, which is a Hong Kong dollar, or as compared to this one, which is an Indian rupee. But Indian rupee is more localized. Hong Kong dollar is typically used in Hong Kong, Singapore, Strait settlements, and the trade dollar is used across Far East for any kind of trade that is happening out there. The next coin that comes in, the next king that comes in is King George. Again, now he started looking left. So that is one key observation on the portrait. And he comes back with a crown, right? So King George comes back with a crown. You could see he's heavily robed, right? And this robe is called as the Order of Indian Empire. You could see these chains. Can you see those over here? Which are been having entangled a elephant, right? It has some Indian roses that are coming over here. This one, and this out here is looking like a cross, but it's more of a flower with radiating thing out there. That is something that comes up with George Fifth. Again, if you see in an Edward style, he has a beard, he has a mustache. So that's how the portrait is really coming out, and he is the king and emperor again. So the portrait really tries to show that very categorically. And this one has been made by Edgar Bertman McKinnell, the engraver of it. Again, these coins are heavily done in the British or the London mints. There is no very specific engraver in the Indian mint who is further changing it. While they have, but there is no significant like Kashinath Das has done for the Queen, right? There's no one who has done that over here. The one key thing to note about George coin is Edward passes away in 1910 and George V comes in 1911. The first portrait that gets designed by someone who is sitting in the UK. He really brings this coin with the elephant that he wanted to engrave, uh, which has uh, if you see, this is the coin, this is the elephant. If I zoom that up, if you see this, uh, this is the trunk of the elephant. This is the tail, which is a bit short. These are the legs, which are a bit stout, not very well done. And when we look at 1912, when they corrected it, if you look at that elephant, look at the trunk, it also has the sulka, as we call it, right, coming out has been shown. The tail goes a bit thicker, a bit longer. The legs, if you see, a bit heavier, because people started feeling that the robe has a pig instead of an elephant. So this rupee was not very well received by the Indian market or the traders. That time it was not really considered having a pig and being very undesirable. People were not ready to accept the coin or keep the coin into their shops or into their houses. And that's why it was immediately changed. And that makes that rupee very rare as well, right? So that's why we are saying it was an undesirable pig then, but the rupee became very desirable. And there are 1 rupee, half rupee. Half rupee is the rarest coin that goes into the 1911 thing, just because of the pig design that is coming in, and that's how they have got corrected. uh, the next portrait is King George VI, right? And this is George Fifth over here. Again, a question to the audience. So when I look at King George VI, forget about the facial features. We'll talk about it. Is there any other difference that you're observing between George Fifth and George VI? Open for your answers here. Do you see any specific difference in the portrait, the way he's looking? Anyone? All right, Anissa de Mello, can you try to answer that? Do you think you can answer that? Between this coin and this one, is there something that is a bit different as
Uh,
come? Go for it.
yes, sir. So this coin, if we look at this coin, so King looking very young,
Oh, wow, that's
and
okay. All
and
right.
crown also different if detailing wise if we see. And I
Okay.
want to see back again that yeah, yeah, he if we see right side, I mean right side, I so king look at downside,
Yeah.
his like his eye, actually eyes, and
So where
here,
he's looking, right? So he's
huh,
looking left, and even King George VI is looking left as compared to, we discussed it, right? That if Edward is looking right, George is looking left.
yes, yes,
George sixth should have looked right
correct,
technically, right? But he's
yes.
looking left. What do you think? What could have been gone wrong over here? Why is he looking uh, left, not right? Just any damn thing that you just, like you said, he's looking young, which is actually true. Uh, why do you think he would have been looking right and not left?
Maybe traditionally something change
Okay.
earlier to
All right, I'm glad you tried to answer that. So, he in between George Fifth and George Sixth stands Edward Eighth. So Edward Eighth decided to marry a widow, and that was not an accepted culture then. So he had to dethrone himself. So he comes in 1936. He decides to marry and he gets dethroned because of that decision. So no coins in the Indian system have come with Edward VIII. In fact, in the world, it's very difficult to find a portrait of Edward VIII. At times, you get on his medal, but getting it on his coins is very difficult. So Gujarat had this Kutch Rupaya where these are protracted states, right? So they had the name of king, so they were fast enough to get Edward VIII, but there was no portrait, it was just in writing. uh, Rupee, as we say, has circulated beyond, so it is also there in Africa. There they have brought in name of Edward VIII, but here we were not fast enough within that 1 year to bring that point. So had he been there, he would have been looking right, hence George six looks left, right? And again, if I look at the portrait, he's looking young because, here, if you see, there is no beard or mustache that has been brought in like the Edward style that was there. So that's how his looks are younger. And if you see, he's also not showing the robe that he is wearing. So again, it's getting cut at the neckline. So that is something that comes in. He's ruling from 1936 to 47. And one of the interesting things, or one of the key things, right, that is happening in that period is the World War II. Uh, I also like to highlight, when George was there, there was World War One that was happening, and there was a period from 1922 when the rupee coin was stopped, right? So there is no rupee coin that has been minted because the prices of silver have really gone so high, or there is shortage of silver, and they are not minting any coins of rupee since 1922. Otherwise, for every year you will find a rupee coin that is coming in, and then when Jaws 6 comes in 1938, the silver rupees been brought in. In 1939, the silver rupees brought in. Again, the World War II starts and the content of rupee changes. So that's a dramatic change. It is made 50% silver. And this is the time when, India has also got its independence. Sorry. So just bringing the obverse of the coin again back, that's how the 1 rupee of 1938, which is silver, looks in. And look at the dramatic change that it goes to where it comes in nickel. And we have uh, the 1 rupee and an additional script, which is Devanagari or Hindi, that is getting added with Ek Rupiya being written, which was not yet being brought in because we are now coming towards closer to the independence and independent uh, India, right? And from there, we have these points of independent India. The first coin comes in 1950, but the portrait coin comes first in 1964, and that's how Jawaharlal Nehru is been represented. And it was widely criticized the way Jawaharlal Nehru was represented because he generally shown in his Gandhi cap, and that's the change that they did in 1989 when, again on his centenary, the coin was published. So maybe, in an Indian context, on an 1 rupee, only one personality has come twice, which is Jawaharlal Nehru. And then for Mahatma Gandhi birth centenary, the 1 rupee coin had Mahatma Gandhi uh, on it, right? So those were, the portraits. The coin has now shifted, if you see, from silver, 11.6 grams of silver, to nickel. Also talks of the state of the economy, the way it is heading. Uh, we then had, these political leaders. These were copper and nickel coins. They are one, the metal content is changing. The weight of the coin starts changing. So we had Baba Sahib Ambedkar coming on the coins, 1990. Rajiv Gandhi was there, and Jai Prakash Narayan has also come in on the coins out there. uh, certain saints that have got represented. One is Tiruvalluram, seated in a meditation pose, and Saint Naneshwar. Those are the portraits. These coins typically you could have seen, passing through your hands because they are quite in the modern age. 1995, 1999. Even today, you could find some of these coins as an exchange that is coming your way. And it really emphasized the portraits on the way they have seated, the pose they have taken, the postures that they have taken based on, the kind of style they are maintaining. And The next series has warriors, where now again see the metal changes to steel, and the weight changes to 4.85 grams. So the rupee graph is really flowing down, at least in terms of its intrinsic value that has been brought in. And these are the warriors: Maharana Pratap in 2003 and Veer Durgadas in 2003. Right, both coins coming there. And one important point that I want to highlight is this is the end of the portraits on Indian rupee in 2003. So, like, they mentioned I attended this session in, it was a meeting with the India Mint, which was in the Mumbai Mint, and some of us were got an opportunity to represent there and talk of, how the design of coins should be. One thing that they told us is that from 2003 onwards, any portraits or commemorations, right? These are mainly commemorative coins commemorating Maharana Pratap or Durgadas or Rajiv Gandhi, having stopped on lower denominations. So lower denominations are 1, 2, 5, 10, maximum 20. Beyond that, it's 50, 100 rupee coins that come in where commemoration will be continued. But for lower denominations, they have stopped because what happened is the same rupee coin, when it is coming in hands of a shopkeeper or a trader who constantly is working or transacting in these lower denominations, they are getting confused whether this is an original coin or a duplicate coin. Because one day he gets a coin on the reverse his Maharana Pratap, one day he gets another coin on reverse it is Durga Das, and in rupee you're seeing just two rate. If you go to 10 rupee coin, there was a time when, you had Mahatma Gandhi with double portraits. So you had uh, a university symbol onto it, the Banaras in the university symbol, and then you had the atomic energy representation of the coin. So every time they got that coin, they started getting confused that is this the right coin, because the reverse design is continuously changing. Hence, government took a decision, which they told us into that meeting, that they will not print lower denominations 1, 2, 5, 10, and 20 rupees coins as commemorative coins. So you will get a very standard design, and that will continue to stay there for 1, 2, 3 years along there. So that's a very interesting fact to note, that the portrait coins are now restricted in 1 rupee. So maybe a right time for you to start collecting those coins as well. With that, I'm going to take pause over here. I have really talked of what I wanted to mention, and I'm pretty much open for any kind of questions that you have over here. So, Pallavi, how do we do it? Do we want to look at what is there in the chat, or do we want to open it up for the audience?
Yeah, I mean, if the audience are already, I mean, y'all can unmute yourself and pose your questions, or if you feel like dropping them here, because on the chat we don't see any questions. But since you already have the option of unmuting and asking your question, that could be it too. So, yeah.
Sure.
But for the age group that will use motion the most is
You're a bit low.
37.14% users.
You're a bit low. I'm not able to hear you.
One second.
Lot of it are motion. So there is a
All right, so we are not able to hear. If someone is asking question, I'm not able to hear you.
Yeah, we're not able to hear you actually.
using motion to have their four types, not the templates. I think pretty decent analysis, I would say, where I can verify most of the things. So in terms of verifiability, give it 4 out of 5 because I was able to verify.
Jitendra.
Hi, Jitendra. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. Hi.
Yeah,
yeah.
now you're fully audible. You can, please, can you repeat yourself?
Actually, this was not question with I needed help. Like I have been collecting this coins, commemorative, definitive, foreign coins, foreign currencies since my childhood. Actually, right now my age is 56. So this is my passion and ultimate passion at different level. And I have lot of collections. Means the case or the tijori which I used to store that itself cost somewhere around 60 to 70,000 rupees. That even I don't have my my own money or my jewelry, as keep it in a smaller wooden locker, but my this passionate treasure, I keep it in a different locker. So I actually wanted to understand. I never have tried to understand the value of my collection, and I always visit so many exhibitions everywhere. But this is my one thing. Who can someone can help me to to know the market value of every coin and currency or whatever I have collections. I have collection throughout the world, coins and
Sure.
currency, everything.
Fair point, Jitendra. What you can do is, one is we talked of this exhibition in Sarmaya. You can actually visit that. You could find co-people who could do that. The other one is there are a lot of people in the market who can help do that. If you just post that question back to us, or we can connect back to you offline and help you get someone who can help you do that. World Trade Center, September, I told you there is an exhibition that happens.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is
yeah.
one place where you can also visit. But do put a message offline, and we will see how we can help you then. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. I'll do that. Thank you so much, Pascal. And thank you so much for organizing such a great Zoom calls and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jitendra. Also, there are, if you do some basic research also from your side, there are some auction houses that also kind of, sell these coins for particular price, and also like it varies. So you can always kind of go and check that as well.
Okay,
If you
okay,
feel
okay.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you know the basic details of your coins, you can definitely look them up online. There are some um auction houses that are quite like, yeah, they
Yeah.
they are verified ones, so you can definitely check that out as well.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. Are there any more questions?
Then ChatGPT research done a very good job over. Let us get to
I think
recent
So while someone is asking, I see Sharif saying in one of the slides for the trade dollars that was pure silver, you said the uses of differed with the price of silver. Could you please elaborate on that? How can usage change because you still need currency? Yeah, that one, Sherry, specifically that was said was for the trade dollar as compared to $1 or a 1 rupee coin, right? So 1 rupee coin is 11.6 grams of silver. There is a very definite conversion rate with, let's say, sterling or US dollar. Similarly, for the $1 of Hong Kong, there is a very defined exchange rate. So when you use that currency even outside India, considering they are in silver and silver as an intrinsic value, you could very easily exchange that. But for the trade dollar precisely, right, when you go to use it versus a sterling pound or US dollar, they will give you the exchange rate based on what the value of silver is. So it is very much on the intrinsic value of the metal, not 1 rupee as is. So if the price of silver has gone to 90 paisa, they will give you goods worth 90 paisa. If the price of silver has gone to 1.5, they will give you goods worth 1.5 because it is a trade dollar. So that specific one has that kind of history to answer you precisely. Yeah, Sharif. Uh, I hope that answers, but if not, you can post a cross question. The second one is there are portrait coins from some princely states also, like Bikaner, Baroda, Alwar, etc., which you have not included in your presentation. I would agree with that. So, in the princely states, they have very specific coins. One specific one should have been here with me as well. So, I think the question really talks of something like this, which is from and in those shit, I have not covered that. I would agree. I really try to keep it a bit mainstream, something that is going across India. But yeah, I do take that as a feedback to enhance this presentation further to include the princely states as well. Uh, so the trade dollar did not have a specific denomination in that sense. It did have Sharif $1 had was the a written price on the trade dollar, but since it was called a trade dollar, its value was fluctuating based on where you are exchanging it typically. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I think we are almost there on concluding the call. Sarma, Pallavi, anything specific that you want to add before we conclude?
Yeah, no, I mean, if people have questions, we still have some time if they want to raise their hands and add something. One second. Yeah, but also from our side, we wanted to know. So while doing the exhibition,
Yeah.
we've been noticing that I mean, first of all, people don't. They tend to think that the obverse side is the one with the one with the value, and then we have to specify to them that about the symbol and the portrait or so we were curious also about like what got you interested or what makes you focus a lot, for example, in this talk or in general, like in on the portrait, and how do we explain to young kids who are coming to the exhibition that it's an equally important side to focus on while we are doing a talk, while we're presenting this exhibition to them.
Yeah, I think what really interests me in the coin, one is the history, but I really like to focus on the art or the design that has been put on the coin. And specifically, when you draw the portrait, there are a lot of those intrinsic details because it brings in the personality, way they want the person or the king to be perceived. Right. So I think those detailings are very important. Any error in how you represent a king or a queen immediately rolls back the coin. You get a new addition to it. So that is what really interests me. And I think for kids, the way I try explaining is typically when we do those times when for a cricket match or any match you used to toss the coin to say heads or tails, so that heads is actually the head of the king or the portrait, and the tails is the other side. So that's how I try to address it.
I also was wondering, another interesting thing is that before 1862 you see the Victoria coin, even the hand struck one, still a bit like not with the crown and just like a portrait of a lady. That's a very interesting kind of transition. So when are we going from that to the crown portrait, and why was it not with the crown and it was just like what was the thing? Yeah.
I think that the Victoria series I find is the most interesting one when I'm collecting, right? And I think that
This is
transition
the
has happened.
in the name of the INO, in the name of a Victoria coin that I'm mentioning, that doesn't have the crown, right?
Yeah. So that was the time when it was East India Company who was putting that thing on, right? And Queen Victoria being a queen of Britain, they brought her head on the coin, but still she was not like owning that coin or governing that
Correct.
region. So that transition from that young head where there is no crown uh, to where she is crowned as an queen or an empress is after 1857, right? When the revolt has happened and she's been shown with the crown. And I think there it was to create that persona among
Mm.
the subcontinent that yes,
Mm-hmm.
this is the personality that is ruling and
Yeah.
showing that authority of that personality as well. And hence, if you see the crown and the way she's postured on the UK coins or on the Indian coins, I feel the Indian coins are showing more an authoritative way of looking at her, with that robe
Yeah.
composition brought in very heavy. While if
Yeah.
you look at the other side, the UK one, which is a very sleek feature of her, the gown is also a bit different. It's
Mm.
not a heavy robed coin. It's more of
Mm.
a trying to make her look more approachable is how that has
Yeah.
been designed. So I think that that crown and that robe that she's wearing is more to put the authority in, and that's how the transition has come in.
Got it. Yeah. So, like to say that, okay, the crown has taken over now.
Yes, yes. And that's where I
Yeah.
really found, like, when Edward was not shown with the crown, that's something that keeps me, like, thinking, uh, why would they have, I mean, 1 year I get it, but he has ruled there from 1903 to, like, 1910, and every year, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, every year there is a coin that is coming in. At least in one coin, they could have shown him with a crown. So, that's something that I generally keep asking myself why they would have not done that.
Yeah. We have some.
We have one more question actually, if you'd like to.
Answer.
It's by Aditya. He's asked,
Mhm.
in today's time of digital currency and physical coins and notes, what is the difference between these? I guess maybe the portraits in India or the US or maybe other countries.
With digital currency, physical note,
Yeah.
what is the difference between the currency in India or the US? Aditya, maybe like, no, I will try to answer it. I may not have fully understood your question, but with digital coins, one main thing I see that the coins or the money is losing is the intrinsic value, right? Which uh, since 1947, 1940, when it moved from silver to, let's say, nickel, one thing that changed is that you could not exchange that coin to a foreign country, because earlier when you took a silver coin, even today if you take silver or gold and go to a foreign country, and if the purity is right, they will accept that as an interest, because it has an intrinsic value as compared to any other metal. So I think as we are moving from a physical coin to the digital currency, the intrinsic value really goes away. Many times we see the dollar is stronger as compared to certain currencies. Rupee is also getting stronger at times. Sometimes it is getting weaker. But I think the main thing, the reason a currency stands strong is what is the kind of silver or gold reserve you maintain on back of it, right? Which every central government is keeping in. So even with this digital currency, one thing that does not go with a strong currency would be the maintenance of the reserve by the reserve bank, right? So tomorrow, if you go to the bank, hypothetically, right, and tell them, I have 500 digital coins, they should be able to give you back that much amount of silver or gold. The countries which don't have that reserve, their valuation of that currency really goes down. So to your question, that how I see that difference, well, one, you won't be able to collect, right, which I see as a disadvantage, because with digital thing you won't be able to collect. People will still collect bitcoins and those other coins which have a huge value still, right? It is more on the programmatic logic in which the coin is now formed. But when I look at a diehard collector of coins, I really find that leverage going out. So I see that as a difference, that the country that will maintain the reserve and the country that will not maintain the reserve, that is how the difference would come in, and we would really lose the physical coin in that case. I hope that
Yeah.
answers it. I see Dr. Cinderella mentioning thanks. She's one of the faculties of St. Teresa's. St. Teresa's, a lot of students are on the call. So thanks, Cinderella, for saying that. And thanks for all of you joining this session. It really means a lot to us.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pascal. That was an incredibly insightful, wonderful lecture. Yeah, just to kind of give just a reminder that we have this exhibition going on till January 31st, and it shows all these coins like William coin, Victoria coin in the name of, and then 1862. All of this in physical. It's there in flesh. So please come and visit the show. It's fully about the journey of the rupee, and we are also showcasing some pre-rupee coins, which is starting from Mahajanapada period. So 2000-year-old coins to Razia Sultan's coin, let's say, and Gupta's coin. All of those are like spread across. So it's beautifully curated. Thanks to Dr. Shailendra Bhandare and also our team. So yeah, I mean, thank you so much for joining today with us. And Pascal, please, yeah, we'll look forward to doing more things with you and more talks with you in future. But this
Sure.
was
Thanks a
great.
lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.